The factory that changed the world. For many years, one country changed the way the world worked. That country was China. No matter where you lived, there was a good chance that something in your home was made there. From clothes and toys to smartphones and furniture, China became the factory of the world. Its rise was so fast that many people called it an economic miracle, but miracles rarely happen by accident. In 1978, China made a decision that changed its future forever. Under the leadership of Deng Xiaoping, the country opened its economy to the world. For decades, China had been mostly closed to foreign business. Now everything was different. Foreign companies were invited to invest. Factories began appearing across the country. Special economic zones offered lower taxes and fewer restrictions. Businesses saw an opportunity they couldn't ignore. China had something no other country could offer at the same scale: millions of hardworking people, low production costs, and a government determined to grow as quickly as possible. Soon, investors from Japan, Europe, and the United States started moving their manufacturing to China. Every new factory created more jobs. Every new port shipped more products. Every year, the economy grew even faster. Small fishing villages became giant modern cities. Shenzhen was one of them. In just a few decades, it transformed from a quiet town into one of the world's largest manufacturing centers. To many people, it looked like the perfect economic success story. Cheap products, growing exports, rising incomes, and factories that never seemed to stop. The world enjoyed lower prices. China enjoyed rapid growth. Everyone appeared to be winning. But beneath that incredible success, a dangerous habit was slowly taking shape. Every city wanted more factories. Every company wanted lower prices. Every business wanted to produce more than the competition. Growth became the only goal. And when growth becomes more important than balance, problems often begin long before anyone notices them. In the next chapter, we'll see how the race to become cheaper slowly turned into a race that no one could truly win. The race to be cheaper. China's success didn't happen by luck. It happened because it could make products faster and cheaper than almost anyone else. That became its greatest advantage. But it also became the beginning of a much bigger problem. As more factories opened, competition became intense. Every city wanted new investments. Every province wanted to become the next economic success story. To attract companies, local governments lowered taxes, land became cheaper, loans became easier to get, factories grew larger every year. At first, everyone benefited. Foreign companies earned higher profits, Chinese workers found better jobs, consumers around the world enjoyed lower prices. It seemed like the perfect system. But something was quietly changing. Success was no longer measured by quality. It was measured by one thing: who could sell for less. Factories started competing against each other. If one company lowered its prices, another lowered them even more. Soon, making a profit became less important than winning customers. The race wasn't about building better products anymore. It was about becoming the cheapest producer in the market. For years, this strategy worked. Millions of workers continued moving from the countryside into growing industrial cities. New highways connected factories to ports. Cargo ships carried Chinese products across the world every single day. The global economy became deeply connected to China's manufacturing machine. But the machine kept getting bigger. New factories were built even when older ones weren't fully busy. More steel, more concrete, more factories, more production. The belief was simple: if producing more created growth yesterday, it would create growth tomorrow. Few people stopped to ask an important question: what happens when the world doesn't need everything you're making? Slowly, supply began growing faster than demand. Warehouses filled with products waiting for buyers. Prices continued falling. Companies worked harder, but earned less. Many factories discovered that selling more didn't always mean making more money. The very strategy that had made China rich was beginning to turn against itself. The race to become the world's cheapest producer had created a new kind of competition, one where everyone worked harder, but fewer people truly won. In the next chapter, we'll explore how producing too much became one of the biggest challenges in China's modern economy. When more becomes too much. For many years, China believed that more production meant more success. If one factory was good, two factories had to be better. New industrial parks appeared across the country. Local governments borrowed money to build roads, ports, power plants, and huge manufacturing zones. The goal was simple: keep growing, keep building, keep producing. For a while, it worked. China became the world's largest producer of steel, cement, electronics, and many other products. Factories ran day and night. Ships left Chinese ports filled with goods for every corner of the world. The economy kept expanding. But eventually, something changed. Factories were producing faster than people were buying. Warehouses began filling with unsold products. Instead of slowing down, many companies made an unexpected decision. They produced even more. They hoped that selling larger quantities would make up for lower profits, but it didn't. prices continued falling, profit margins became smaller every year. Many businesses were working harder than ever, yet earning less money. Economists have a word for this: overcapacity. It means producing far more than the market actually needs. This wasn't just happening in one industry. It spread across steel, solar panels, batteries, and electric vehicles. Hundreds of companies were competing for the same customers. The only way to stay alive was to lower prices again and again. Soon, competition stopped being about innovation. It became a fight for survival. Some companies sold products with almost no profit. Others sold below cost just to keep their factories running. Everyone hoped the next year would be better, but their competitors were thinking exactly the same thing. It became a cycle that was difficult to escape. The harder companies worked, the less they earned. China had built one of the most powerful manufacturing systems in history, but now that same system was creating more products than the world could absorb. The engine that once drove incredible growth was beginning to slow under its own weight. In the next chapter, we'll see why the government continued supporting the system, even as profits continued to disappear. The price war. When companies stopped making good profits, you might expect them to slow down. But in China, many did the opposite. They produced even more. Factories kept running, new products kept entering the market, prices kept falling. Everyone hoped that selling more would solve the problem. Instead, it made the competition even tougher. One company lowered its prices, another company followed, then another. Soon, entire industries were competing over one thing: who could sell for the lowest price? This became especially clear in industries like solar panels, electric vehicles, and batteries. China wasn't producing just enough, it was producing far more than the world could buy. Some companies even sold products below their production cost. Making a profit was no longer the main goal. Staying alive was. Many of these companies received support from local governments: cheap loans, tax benefits, financial assistance. The idea was simple: keep factories open, protect jobs, maintain economic growth. In the short term, the strategy seemed to work. China continued exporting record numbers of products around the world. Consumers enjoyed lower prices. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. Profit margins became thinner every year. Businesses survived, but many stopped truly growing. Instead of competing through better ideas, they competed through lower prices. Innovation slowed, pressure increased. The system became trapped in a cycle: more production, lower prices, smaller profits, then even more production. Economists often describe this as a race to the bottom. Everyone keeps moving faster, yet no one gets much further ahead. The strategy that once helped China become an industrial superpower was now creating a different kind of challenge. Success was becoming harder to measure, because selling more products didn't always mean creating more wealth. In the next chapter, we'll explore why this isn't just China's problem, and how the entire world has become connected to this economic story when cheap becomes expensive. For many years, the world benefited from China's low prices. Families could buy more for less. Businesses reduced their costs. Stores stayed full. Cheap products became a normal part of everyday life. But low prices always come with a question: who pays the real cost? As Chinese companies earned smaller profits, many workers saw their wages grow more slowly. Businesses had less money to invest in new ideas. Local governments carried more debt. The system kept moving, but it became harder to create real wealth. This wasn't only affecting China, it was changing the global economy. Factories in other countries struggled to compete with China's prices. Some closed their doors, others moved their production overseas. Entire industries became dependent on Chinese manufacturing. The world enjoyed cheaper goods, but also became more connected to a single economy. History has seen this before. Great economic powers often grow by producing more than everyone else. But sooner or later, every system reaches a limit. Growth cannot continue forever if demand stops growing too. China now faces that same challenge. It has some of the world's most advanced factories, some of the world's best infrastructure, and one of the largest manufacturing industries in history. Yet producing more is no longer enough. The next step is much harder: finding new customers, creating new demand, and building an economy that depends less on factories and more on people spending money at home. That transition is not easy. It takes time, it takes confidence, and it requires changing a system that has worked the same way for decades. In the final chapter, we'll discover the biggest lesson hidden inside China's economic story and why it matters far beyond China's borders. The real lesson. China's story is about much more than one country. It's a story about how every economy faces limits. For years, China focused on one goal: produce more, build faster, grow bigger. That strategy transformed the country. It lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. It built modern cities. It created one of the strongest manufacturing economies the world has ever seen. But every system has a point where doing more no longer creates better results. At some point, balance becomes more important than speed. Today, China's biggest challenge isn't making products. It's creating enough demand for those products. Its factories are still among the best in the world. Its workers are highly skilled. Its technology continues to improve. But when supply grows faster than demand, even the strongest economy begins to feel the pressure. History reminds us that this isn't something new. Many great powers have faced similar challenges. They grew quickly, they dominated global trade, but eventually they had to answer the same question. How do you keep growing when producing more is no longer the answer? There are no simple solutions. Every country searches for its own path. Some succeed, others struggle. China is now writing the next chapter of that story. Whether it finds the right balance will shape not only its own future, but the future of the global economy. Because in today's world, no economy stands alone. The lesson isn't that growth is bad, or that competition is dangerous. The real lesson is that lasting prosperity needs balance. Growth without balance can create hidden weaknesses. And history has shown us, time and time again, that the strongest economies are not always the ones that grow the fastest. They are the ones that know when it's time to change. The right question is worth more than the easiest answer. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through the history of money, don't forget to subscribe. There are many more stories from the past that still shape the world we live in today.